Roman Reigns stood in the Royal Rumble spotlight and said he chose CM Punk because he hates him. That one word matters. Because in WWE history, hatred has broken alliances. But sometimes it has also created them. And now, for the first time in years, there's a reason to ask a serious question. Could the same hatred that fuels Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins separately actually bring them back together? The Shield was never just a faction. It was an era. From 2012 to 2014, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose dominated WWE in a way few trios ever have. They weren't just winning matches. They were defining the tone of the product. Tactical gear. Coordinated entrances through the crowd. A unity that felt authentic. When they split, it reshaped the company. Over the years, there were brief reunions. Short moments of nostalgia. But those moments never fully restored what had been lost. Personal ambition, betrayals, and diverging paths made sure of that. And with Dean Ambrose now competing in AEW, a complete reunion isn't realistic at this point. But a partial one? That's different. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins have been locked in a complicated rivalry for years. They've fought for titles. They've attacked each other. They've made it clear that trust between them is fractured. Yet even within that hostility, there's something deeper. History. On a recent edition of the Notsam Wrestling podcast, analyst Sam Roberts addressed a fan email suggesting that Reigns and Rollins could set aside their differences for one reason: CM Punk. Roberts admitted he hadn't considered it at first, but once it was raised, the idea made sense. Seth Rollins has been vocal about his feelings toward Punk. He's drawn a clear distinction between his issues with Roman and his issues with CM Punk. In his words, he and Roman are brothers who do things differently. But when it comes to Punk, it's hatred. Roman has echoed that sentiment. After winning the Royal Rumble, Reigns didn't frame his WrestleMania 42 challenge in terms of legacy or opportunity. He framed it emotionally. He said he chose Punk because he hates him. That alignment of emotion is significant. When two rivals share a common enemy, it creates narrative gravity. Wrestling history is filled with uneasy alliances formed not out of friendship, but out of necessity. The question isn't whether Reigns and Rollins like each other. It's whether they dislike CM Punk enough. And that possibility changes the stakes heading into WrestleMania. CM Punk stands as World Heavyweight Champion. His presence alone carries weight. His history with both men adds layers that go beyond championships. Punk represents unfinished business for Rollins. For Roman, he represents something personal enough to fuel a Royal Rumble decision. According to Roberts, the idea that true hatred of CM Punk could bind Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins together would be a fascinating twist. Not a sentimental reunion. Not a nostalgia play. A strategic alignment driven purely by emotion. That distinction matters. If the Shield were to stand side by side again, even temporarily, it wouldn't be about recreating 2013. It would be about survival and dominance in 2026. It would be two modern main event stars leveraging shared history to eliminate a threat. There's also timing to consider. Rollins is rumored to return in time for WrestleMania 42. If that report proves accurate, the scenario becomes even more compelling. Roman challenges Punk. Tensions escalate. The match unfolds under enormous pressure. And at a critical moment, Seth Rollins appears. Not to attack Roman, but to neutralize Punk. That image alone would reshape the narrative. Because for years, the story between Reigns and Rollins has been about betrayal and distrust. Seeing them operate with even a fraction of their former cohesion would immediately spark debate. Is this temporary? Is it calculated? Is it genuine? And perhaps more importantly, what happens after Punk is dealt with? That's where the long-term storytelling becomes intriguing. If hatred is the glue, it's also fragile. Once the common enemy is removed, what remains? Old wounds don't disappear. Past betrayals don't fade. The very act of reuniting could reopen unresolved issues. There's also the broader locker room perspective. A reunited Reigns and Rollins, even briefly, would shift power dynamics overnight. Other competitors would have to reassess strategies. Alliances might form in response. The ripple effect would extend beyond one championship match. Yet none of this requires a full faction revival. It doesn't require tactical vests or coordinated entrances. It requires something simpler and arguably more realistic. Two elite performers acknowledging that their shared disdain for one man outweighs their personal conflict, at least for one night. That's a mature story. It treats the audience as intelligent. It builds on established character motivations rather than rewriting them. Rollins has said he hates CM Punk. Roman has said the same. Those statements are on record. They're not speculative. They're emotional truths expressed publicly. Sam Roberts' point wasn't that this reunion is guaranteed. It was that it's worth thinking about. And when you examine the layers, it becomes clear why. The Shield originally formed around a mission statement. They believed they were correcting injustice. They targeted perceived threats. They operated with conviction. Translating that framework into the present day doesn't require identical circumstances. It requires a shared objective. Right now, CM Punk could represent that objective. From a storytelling standpoint, this approach also avoids sentimentality. Wrestling audiences are quick to recognize forced nostalgia. But a reunion born from animosity feels organic. It feels earned. And it would keep viewers guessing. Because the moment Roman and Seth stand together again, the question won't be whether they can coexist. It will be how long they can. WrestleMania 42 is already positioned as a major turning point with Roman Reigns challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship. Adding the possibility of Seth Rollins influencing that outcome introduces unpredictability without undermining anyone's credibility. It doesn't diminish Punk. In fact, it elevates him. If it takes two former Shield members to bring him down, that reinforces his status as a formidable champion. It frames him as the kind of competitor who unites enemies. At the same time, it deepens the Roman and Seth narrative. Instead of recycling past grievances, it evolves them. Rivalries in wrestling are strongest when they transform rather than repeat. There's also the emotional resonance. Fans who watch The Shield rise remember the intensity. They remember the chemistry. Even a brief callback would tap into that history while serving a current storyline. It bridges eras without living in the past. Of course, nothing is confirmed. Rollins' return remains a rumor. Plans in WWE can change quickly. And there's no official indication that a reunion angle is in motion. But as a concept, it aligns with established motivations. Roman hates Punk. Seth hates Punk. That's documented. The question becomes whether that shared emotion is powerful enough to override years of tension between them. If it is, we could witness one of the more nuanced alliances in recent WWE storytelling. Not brothers reunited in harmony. Not enemies suddenly forgiving each other. Just two competitors recognizing that, in this moment, their goals intersect. And sometimes that's all wrestling needs. A common enemy. A temporary truce. A reminder that history never fully disappears. If Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were to stand shoulder to shoulder again, even briefly, it wouldn't erase what happened between them. It would add another chapter to a story that has spanned more than a decade. And it would begin with a simple, honest admission from both men. They hate CM Punk. Now the real question is this. If that hatred leads to a Shield reunion at WrestleMania 42, would you see it as a natural evolution of their story, or would it risk reopening wounds that should stay closed? Let me know what you think.